We live in an era where every aspect of our lives, from our morning coffee to our most intimate experiences, is broadcast, published, and shared in pristine 4K clarity. The world buzzes with endless revelations. Yet, paradoxically, it's those who appear most whole, magnetic, and unwavering who speak less. They guard their inner truths, protecting them with reverence, like a sacred fire capable of burning the unwary. Consider Carl Jung, the legendary depth psychologist. He didn't just explore the labyrinths of the human psyche. Like a courageous explorer, he mapped the invisible, mysterious territories of the human soul. Among his many truly profound insights, one resonates particularly sharply, like a warning. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. There are truths, fragile and profound, that when spoken too hastily or too frankly, without proper preparation, become distorted beyond recognition. They can be twisted, weaponized against you, or simply grossly misunderstood. But what's most terrifying is that they irrevocably lose their pristine, sacred magic, their unique power. This is why our conversation today isn't about silence as a clever social tactic or manipulation. No, we're talking about silence as a vital act of self-preservation, as essential energetic hygiene for the soul, as a deeply conscious choice in this deafening, information-saturated world that tirelessly demands our attention and revelations. And you'll understand why the ability to keep certain truths deep within yourself isn't about being withdrawn or secretive, but something far greater. It's a genuine, higher form of wisdom. Today, we'll delve into 6 profound yet invisible truths. These aren't just words, but powerful revelations that, when spoken at the wrong time or to the wrong person, can not only cloud your own mind and drain your spiritual energy, but, most paradoxically, invite the very chaos you're so desperately trying to avoid. Get ready. We're about to begin. The first, and perhaps most challenging truth: never point out what you see in someone else's shadow. Admit it, we've all been there. You watch a loved one repeatedly fall into self-sabotage, get stuck in a vicious cycle of toxic habits, or remain utterly blind to a flaw that's glaringly obvious to you. Your heart aches with a desire to help, and you naively think, if I just lovingly hold up this mirror, they have to see it. They'll understand. But the great Carl Jung would emphatically warn you. People are incapable of recognizing their shadow until their own soul is ready for it. Forcibly pushing them toward this reflection won't help. It will only sow seeds of shame, provoke furious denial, or erect an impenetrable wall between you. Why? Because the shadow isn't just a collection of unconscious, rejected parts of our personality that can be easily spotted when pointed out. These are deep layers that a person must excavate themselves when their inner readiness for evolution reaches its peak. It's an internal journey, not an external directive. When you expose someone's shadow before they've developed sufficient ego strength to process and integrate it, it's not healing, it's a deep wound. This is precisely why your most sincere, well-intentioned attempts at feedback often aren't just ignored, but provoke a vehement, defensive reaction that pushes you away. Jung profoundly revealed that true transformation only occurs when insight meets genuine readiness, not sooner and not according to your personal timetable. Therefore, if you feel your energy is attuned to something greater, carefully guard your insight. Just because you can perceive what's hidden in others doesn't mean it's your task to reveal it. True wisdom manifests in knowing when to remain silent and when to allow people to navigate their own labyrinth. The second crucial point: the true reason you ended a relationship with someone. How often do we feel an irresistible urge to explain ourselves when we distance ourselves from a connection? But here's the profound truth. Some separations have nothing to do with drama or conflict. They arise from a subtle divergence in vibrations, a mismatch in resonance, and a shift in your own frequency that requires no one's validation. When you outgrow a relationship, Jung would say you've integrated a new part of your psyche. You've ascended to a new level of your being, and sometimes holding on to the old would mean betraying your own unique path. Attempts to explain why you broke up with someone, especially if they're unable to comprehend, often become nothing more than a sacrifice of your precious inner peace. It opens doors to endless arguments, guilt-tripping, and manipulative gaslighting. Your growth is your sacred journey, and you owe no one an explanation or the details of it. It's not an escape from the world, but a deep, energetic completion of a cycle necessary for your inner growth. Trying to explain your soul's decisions to someone trapped in the shackles of their own ego is like casting pearls before a storm. They won't understand. They'll only try to drag you back into the whirlpool of their dramas and expectations. Your peace isn't a sentence. It's a shield. Let silence be your most eloquent answer, and allow your boundaries to breathe freely, safeguarding your inner world. Moving on to the third treasure, the kindness you offer to the world when no one is watching. In our world, obsessed with displaying virtue for applause and recognition, performing a kind deed in secret without a single announcement feels like an act of countercultural rebellion. But it is precisely in this that its true, profound essence lies. The great Carl Jung sagely asserted, the path to true individuation, to realizing our highest self, lies through deep inner congruence, not through a craving for external praise. That's why, when your good deed goes unnoticed, it becomes truly sacred. It is genuine, pure soul work. The moment you begin to boast about your noble act, it immediately transforms into cheap currency in the ego market. It's no longer just kindness, it's a performance, and its spiritual weight dissipates like smoke, losing all value. And what's worse, it feeds that very part of your being, your persona, which Jung so persistently warned against. This mask you wear to beg for love and approval, instead of living in your truth. Your soul doesn't need applause. It needs unadulterated integrity. Recall that moment when you extended a helping hand without turning on a camera, without expecting thanks, without seeking social media likes. That moment was pure magic, a manifestation of the divine. It was the universe itself, breathing and acting through you. When you give, be it energy, time, or material possessions, doing so anonymously from the heart, that gesture resonates in the world far louder and deeper than any words spoken aloud. Allow your higher self to be the silent witness. Let your karma, not a soulless algorithm, keep account of your good deeds. And finally, point 4, keep your plans secret until they have taken deep root. Consider this. Seeds don't sprout in darkness for no reason. Silence is a shield for your potential. Before a dream takes on flesh and blood, it exists in a sacred, incredibly fragile state. Voice it too soon, and you risk inviting waves of doubt, distorted opinions, or even toxic envy into your life. The great psychologist Carl Jung deeply studied the concept of psychic energy, which he termed libido, not just as sexual, but as a universal life force that drives us. He asserted that every idea, every goal we nurture, carries this powerful psychic energy. And here's what happens. When you share your plan too early, you're not just talking about it. You're squandering this precious energy. You dissipate it, making your still fragile dream vulnerable to others' opinions, hasty judgments, or even destructive disbelief. Recall that moment when, filled with inspiration, you dared to share a cherished dream, only to be met with a skeptically raised eyebrow, or, far more painfully, icy, polite indifference. In that instant, your heart would clench, and that fragile flame of hope burning within seemed to extinguish, leaving behind only a sense of emptiness. It wasn't about the flaw in your dream, but its immaturity. It hadn't yet solidified, hadn't found its footing. You were carefully nurturing it like a child, and it needed protection and gentle patronage, not a harsh trial by the outside world. Our psyche is an astonishingly fertile ground where, like a child in the womb, our ideas and intentions need silence and time for full formation. Prematurely voicing them is akin to opening the oven door before a cake has baked. All the precious heat instantly escapes, and nothing will rise, nothing will take its proper form. This isn't about secrecy, but about the sacred sovereignty of your inner worlds. Your dreams have every right to be nourished by the strength of your unwavering belief before encountering the cold wind of others' doubts and skepticism. So, continue to carefully water the seedlings of your ideas, continue to tirelessly build their foundation. And when their bloom becomes so vibrant and undeniable that it speaks for itself, you won't need to explain anything. You will simply be the embodiment of your dream. Point 5. Be cautious when speaking about others. Perhaps it seems entirely harmless to share your opinion, especially about people in your immediate circle. But there's an unspoken truth that few ever remind you of. Every time you discuss others, you inadvertently reveal far more about yourself. As the great Carl Jung astutely noted, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Remember, when you speak about others, you are most often speaking about yourself. These judgmental words, especially casually dropped in everyday conversations or broader circles, are nothing more than an echo of your own shadow. It's that rejected part of you, envy, insecurity, deeply hidden fear, that bursts forth, projecting onto another. When we speak from such a position, it's not insight, not truth, but merely a distorted reflection. And believe me, those around you sense it. But there's something worse. If your interlocutor lacks inner grounding and maturity, your words instantly turn into poisonous gossip, fuel for others' intrigues, ammunition that can be turned against you. And it doesn't matter that you didn't mean it. Self-aware individuals instantly recognize this projection. They won't point it out directly, but their memory will retain your words. They will see recurring patterns in them, understanding the true nature of your remarks. It's not a window through which you view the world, but a mirror reflecting yourself. And those who lack self-awareness will readily repeat what they've heard, perhaps distorting, rephrasing, giving your words an entirely different, foreign tone. And just like that, quite unexpectedly, you find yourself at the center of a story you never intended to star in, and in a role that was thrust upon you. Guard your energy. Protect your discernment. The moment you're seized by the temptation to speak about someone, pause, stop, and ask yourself a piercing question. Is this truly about them, or am I revealing more about myself right now? Remember, not every truth needs to be voiced. True wisdom sometimes manifests only in silence. Some truths serve their purpose only when kept in silence. Point 6. The intimate dynamics of your romantic relationships. Of course, we all sometimes need to vent, to unburden our souls. But there's a delicate, barely perceptible line between seeking genuine support and betraying sacred confidences. Every time you bring up intimate details of your relationship for discussion, especially in the heat of an argument, you are literally throwing open the doors of that sacred space meant to be inviolable, inviting in foreign energy. Carl Jung would call this the sacred union of opposites, anima and animus, the feminine and masculine principles, the inner couple that lives within each of us. When you unceremoniously interfere with this dance, defiling it with gossip, complaints, or excessive exposure, you don't just create, you gouge deep cracks in the delicate psychic bond that connects you. Certainly, seeking support is natural and even necessary, but endlessly, excessively exposing every argument, every insecurity, every minor irritation, that's not a path to healing. It is a bleeding leak of your shared energy. And each such leak, like an uninvited guest, invites foreign interference, caustic envy, destructive comparisons, and, worst of all, the opinions of those who can never truly understand your unique story. Even the most well-meaning friends can muddy the pristine waters of your relationship. Suddenly, someone appears who, not knowing the full scope of your love story, starts giving advice based only on snippets of information. And these snippets, like distorted mirrors, warp your own vision, poisoning your perception. From an energetic perspective, your relationship is a unique, living frequency. And talking about them, especially when fueled by anger or resentment, irrevocably alters this subtle field. You start to fixate on flaws instead of seeing growth, on what's broken rather than what you've so painstakingly built. Carl Jung wisely reminded us that relationships are alchemical vessels. They are capable of transforming us beyond recognition, but only on one condition: if we carefully guard their sacred, fragile vessel. When a couple's internal dynamics are constantly put on display and subjected to external judgment, they lose their magical power of transformation. Therefore, speak to someone who can truly help, a therapist. Pour your heart out in a journal, seek answers in meditation, but allow your relationships to breathe in sacred, protected privacy. What is cherished and protected flourishes and strengthens. What is too often exposed to public view inevitably fades and withers. So, now that you've contemplated all these important truths, take a deep breath. This isn't merely a list of things to keep silent about. It's a carefully considered plan for preserving your inner peace, your precious spiritual momentum, and crystal clear energetic clarity in a world that relentlessly demands our complete openness. Carl Jung's psychology wasn't about playing games or pretenses. It was about deep integration, about achieving true wholeness. And an integral part of this becoming is the ability to maintain silence, the knowledge of what not to utter aloud. For silence isn't an empty void. It's the deepest intelligence pulsating within. When you don't rush to expose the shadows in another person's soul, you show deep respect for their personal journey and pace of development. When you depart without scattering lengthy justifications, you carefully safeguard your inner harmony and energy. When you don't trumpet your good deeds, you allow the universe itself to carefully record them in its eternal ledger, multiplying their true value. When you keep your cherished plans secret, you grant them sacred space for deep rooting and powerful growth, shielding them from external influences. When you refrain from judging others, you free yourself from your own inner projections and prejudices, gaining true freedom. And when you protect your romantic intimacy as something sacred, you keep the flame of love bright and unextinguishable, making it indestructible. This isn't merely a set of rules to follow. These are living practices, profound habits of an awakened consciousness, a relentlessly growing soul, a life that unfolds in full harmony with something far deeper and more significant than anyone's approval or external recognition. You don't have to voice every feeling, nor explain every step you take. In fact, the deeper you delve into your inner harmony and become truly attuned to yourself, the less you'll feel the need for any explanations. Your very being will become your explanation. So, the next time you feel an overwhelming urge to share one of these 6 things, stop. Take a deep breath and honestly ask yourself, does this impulse truly serve your higher self, or does it merely feed your lower manifestations?